everyone, here is your girl BB and BB Spice Talk Show. And yes, I'm here today with Larry Onan, and we're here to talk about Christianity and debt management, right? And he's here to share some light on this, right? So it's come with so much wisdom and experience, right? When it comes to debt, right? So Larry helps people to become intentionally living, so that they can experience purpose, fulfillment, abundance, and contentment. And he's been involved with so many fundraising activities. He's one of the management development associate team, right, and as vice president, right, of Stewards. Stewardship strategies, and he's got so many things. So, however, I'm going to leave him and give him time to introduce himself better.
Well, it's got nice to be with you today, BB. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. I have had a background. I've spent over 50 years helping organizations with their raising funds for their ministries. But that really started when I got really into that the most when I started understanding the biblical concepts behind it. And if your listeners are interested in how to get out of debt, well, we can touch on that. There are some foundational principles behind the problem in the first place. But I'm glad to dive in and share what I've learned over my many years of just helping people.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So first of all, I'm just going to ask, right, what is debt and debt management?
Well, I think what happens is people get into debt because they forget who owns it all. They get in debt because they're thinking about themselves, and it's really easy to get into debt. It's harder to get out. Over the years, probably in the last 30 years, there's 3 organizations that I have worked with extensively in that area, and they're available worldwide. So anybody, any place in the world can get a hold of them on their websites. One's a group called Compass Ministries out of Florida. They are very, very good at Compass and helping you practically understand how to manage your funding. Another ministry that's very, very close to that is a group called, that's Compass. I mentioned, I'll go to another one, Peace University. It's a Dave Ramsey entity, but Peace University is very good at doing that as well. And at Peace University, and I think at Compass as well, you can actually go online and take the courses right online. So you no longer have to be in a small group. Yeah. But both of those groups do teach you techniques. And I think people are a lot of times when you're in debt. I was with a gal that used to do hairdressing years ago, and she was really in trouble, probably $20,000 in debt. And so she was looking for a quick fix. What's the Band-Aid to get me out of the problem? Yeah. In my conversation with her, she didn't really want to deal with the issue. She just wanted to get out of debt. That's the technique. That's a process to do that. Yeah. But if you do not understand the foundational principles behind it, you're going to end up in debt again. And I think some people try to get out of debt. They do pretty good for a discipline, but they're like an alcoholic. They don't drink for a long time. They get sober. They're doing really well. And then what do? They hit the bottle again, and they're back in trouble again. Yeah. And if you learn how to manage any of these addictions, and I think debt is an addiction. Yeah. It's really funny. In our cultures today, we have a little thing called a credit card. Yeah. It's really smaller than that. It's a little chip on that credit card. And I can walk into a store and go in debt in 15 minutes and not even know it. I have got enough credit on my credit cards that I could go buy a car today based on my credit and based on the cards that I use. And I could go in debt in 30 minutes. I could be in big trouble. Because I'm disciplined enough that I do not ever pay interest on credit cards. I work with 5 different credit cards for different businesses, my personal life, the various things that I do. And I don't think I've spent $5 in paying debt to the credit card companies in 20 years. They do not like me because I don't play their game. The intention is for me to get in debt and then pay them 18 to 20% interest.
Yeah.
That's what they're planning on you doing. But if you're going to be disciplined in managing your resources, you've got to decide what's really important in life. So, but I've taught Compass, I've taught the other organizations, Crown Ministries. So you could have Compass, you have Crown, and then you've got Peace University. Anybody, any place in the world could go onto those websites. Peace, they've all got their own websites. And you can get really good help. All three of them do teach you the foundational principles behind debt. But many people are going just for the technique. How do you do it? How do you manage the money? And I am not for helping people who just want to play the game. If you really want to have a transformed life, I think you've got to look at it a little bit differently. BB, here's the issue. The very first principle in all of these principles of losing debt or removing debt is realize that the number one thing is that God owns it all. You don't own anything.
Yeah.
Now, in other words, he owns your credit card. So when you go and use your credit card, who are you putting the debt on?
God.
You're basically telling God, I'm going to run up a debt against you.
Yeah.
Now, God's going to hold you accountable for what you did with the credit card, but you don't own anything. You know, people I have a home in California where I'm from. I've got a car, an SUV. I've got clothes in my closet, but I don't own the car. I don't own the SUV. I don't own my clothes. Everything I have is not mine. I'm entrusted with it. This comes off of the book of Genesis, the first chapter, where God was, quote, giving things to Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really, he was entrusting them to be stewards and take care of his stuff. And basically the rule was, Adam, Eve, go live in the garden. I'm going to provide you a place to live. I'm not giving it to you. I'm allowing you and I'm trusting you to live in my garden. And I'm trusting you to take care of things. I want you to manage well. Now, Adam and Eve has a problem. They disobeyed a couple of of what I call the boundaries. And when you disobey the boundaries, you end up with the consequences of disobeying that boundary. So when you go and use your credit card to buy a fast food sandwich and you know there's really not money there, you're violating a boundary. And you got to keep in mind all the time, this is not mine, it's God's. And so if I'm going to be living in harmony with him, I've got to be careful how I manage his stuff.
Yeah.
And now, if you're starting to understand that principle, another principle is God wants me to be asking. It's a part of the understanding of who God really is. God's a giver and he wants us to be givers. So God says, I'm generous. I want you to be generous. Are you a stingy person? Are you trying to just take care of yourself? Or are you trying to help others? And we're not talking just about money. We're talking about everything that's made up of life. Your time, your talent, your treasure, everything is tied up this way. So when I start to realize that first of all, God owns it all. And secondly, God wants me to give, just like he did. The scripture says that God made man in his image. His image was a generous giver. And he wants us to do what he did. Now he wants us to learn how to ask as well. He wants us to ask him as a way of communication with him. But BB, he also wants us to ask each other. About 4 or 5 months ago, I was speaking at a men's prayer breakfast. And there was probably 30 men at the breakfast. And at the end of it, they dismissed the group and everybody left the room but 2 guys. And those 2 guys were in the room picking up and cleaning up after the breakfast.
Yeah.
The reason they were doing it alone is they did not ask the men, if before you leave today, could you bust your table, clean up your silverware, put it over here, and in 5 minutes we can have this room cleaned up. If they would have asked that day for the men to help, probably 80% of them would have stepped in to do it. We're very dense. And so we don't know what the need is, but if I don't hear a need brought to my attention, I'm going to ignore it. Last night I got a phone call pretty late at night, and it was a lady saying, I need to have you make a phone call to so-and-so. Would you call her about a particular need? Well, because she called me, I was able to start to deal with a very sensitive issue that relates to some things I'm working on. But if she had not called me, I wouldn't have even known of the need.
Yeah.
And her call was an ask. And then the other principle behind all that is that we've got to understand the rules of the farmer, the harvest. Because you get yourself in debt doesn't mean you're going to get out much faster than how you got in. We don't like that. We want to get out of debt quick. We messed up big time. We've got $20,000 indebtedness. Let's just use that as an example. And we're now trying to find a way in 4 or 5 weeks to eliminate a problem that we created over time.
Yeah.
But the law of the harvest says it takes a little bit of time for you to get the harvest collected. The fruit of the harvest takes time to produce. So there's got to be some real discipline in dealing with debt, because it's going to change your lifestyle. It's going to change your attitude. And it's not just the techniques. The techniques do work. But the techniques by themselves are going to be frustrating to people, because it's like dieting. If a person wants to lose weight, okay, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm going to cut my calories way back. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to do the techniques of losing weight. But 7 days into it, I really want an ice cream. So now I'm going to go to ice cream or a piece of cake or something like that. And I'm starting to break my covenant and my discipline to accomplish my debt reduction, my debt, or I guess, the weight reduction. But what happens is that we break our own rules, and then we get ourselves in trouble again, Phoebe. So if a person is looking to get free, they need to understand who they are in God's eyes, and they need to understand principles that's going to take a while for that to work, because that's the law of the harvest. And as God starts to be able to see that you can handle your debt and manage it, God's he loves to bless his people. He's a generous God. And he can give you more, but he is never going to waste things on you. People say, I just need more from God. Well, God's looking at you in a sense and saying, you want more from me, but you've already blown it and built up this debt. You've not done this correctly. And he would basically say to you, BB or Larry, I can't trust you right now because you're not spending what I've already given you wisely. But when you start to get your stewardship in order and you do it wisely, BB, I've got more for you. I want to bless you some more, but I want to see that you're ready to handle it. So there is an abundance of God's provision that can be given to people, but it's not because we're manipulating God to get it. It's because he starts to trust us with the ability to give more.
Yeah.
So I'm a big one to help a person get out of debt, but I want to get them out of debt forever, not just for a few weeks.
Yeah, I get. So with what you've explained, it's more or less like it's got to do with the person, them being responsible to handle the debt by, and how they them being irresponsible as well on how they got into the debt. But what if it was out of, maybe, like, for example, they couldn't get the job at the time they meant to get a job, or they were made redundant, or they when they got the issue, they got a lesser paid job instead of a normal paid job, and they've kind of reduced. I'm just saying, because some people are really responsible at this stage, and they've kind of reduced their expenses and all that. However, the debt is still there, and they don't have the resources to cover it. And then
there's what's the principles behind that? Maybe I think there's a couple of things. One is you got to live within your means. Now and I think where we get debt mostly grows because we are spontaneous in our purchasing. And we get ourselves in trouble by not thinking through where we're going. For instance, a way to be responsible is I'm going to always take a list to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take a list, what are you going to buy? Stuff you don't need. I'm also going to be prudent when I go to the grocery store, and I'm going to choose only shop on the outside edges of the store. The outside edges of every grocery store is where you find the quality food. The aisles inside are full of junk. Sodas and chips and all kinds of processed food. That's what's on the inside of the grocery store. The outside edges of the grocery store is where the good food's at. So when I walk into a grocery store, I'm choosing to walk on the outside of the outside parameter as I'm shopping so that I get what's healthy for me and what I need. And I'm always working against a list. So I think there are sometimes, well, I've got a good friend right now. He's a graduate of college. He incurred debt when he was in school for the last 2 years. And he also has a truck payment. Now, he was hoping that he could refund his truck payment. Nobody wants to work with him because they don't want to accept his debt of that truck. So he's stuck with a higher interest rate, and he is really big on the Peace University, the Dave Ramsey courses. He just loves them, and he's really bothered by the fact that he's in debt. He's working full time. He is delaying marriage. He is not living in an apartment. He's choosing to live at home with his folks again because he's making sacrifices right now to get $30,000 of indebtedness out of the way. Because he cannot afford an apartment and he cannot afford marriage until he gets that in order, and he does not want to go into marriage with $20,000 to $30,000 indebtedness. So he's making sacrifices now. He's working full time. It's not in the job he loves, but he's found a place where he can also develop his skills. And he's looking to how he does more education, gets married, and other things. But at this particular point in life, this year or two, he's making choices to eliminate his expenses. And I think many people want to sustain their life without going through the evaluation of what can I get rid of. And I don't care what culture we're into and what we're talking about, there are ways to cut some corners and cut back. And I think indebtedness was really easy to get into and really hard to get rid of. And it could take a change in job. It could take 2 jobs. You may have to work at 2 different jobs for a while. And then the discipline is I will take all the money from one job and it goes to my debt. Well, I'm trying to live on the other job expenses. So there's decisions that have got to be made. A good steward makes wise decisions because they're managing the affairs of somebody else, and they will do sacrifice. So I think if a person is in any part of the world, say, okay, how do I get control of my life? First of all, if you can get rid of the tools that cause you indebtedness. Credit cards today are rampant around the world, and they are addictive. And if you've got to cut them up or put them away or whatever it takes, you live on what you got. And then you start to say, how can I get a second job? How can I do something differently? How can I cut my expenses? You've got to be, and it's a long haul picture on this, BB. It's not something that's going to happen really fast. It's the prudence of following the principles and the techniques that allow a person to get victory. And then I encourage people, if you've got some debt, you've got to get rid of the smallest ones first. It's called the snowball. It's called the snowball effect. I get rid of the small one, and that's out of my way. I get rid of the other one, and it's out of the way. So I think that those are kind of things there. And I think many people are saying, well, I got in trouble like this. Now I want to have a miracle to get out of trouble. And God said, no, we're going to do it the same way you got in trouble. You're going to come out the same way. And it's going to take you being disciplined and you being faithful to me and faithful to core principles. So the organizations I mentioned, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the book that I wrote that could help people as well. but it is just following the principles, whether it's in a small group study, reading the materials they've got, or doing it online.
Yeah.
But you've got to be disciplined, and you cannot start and think, well, I did this for a month and it's not working.
Yeah.
It didn't take you a month to get into it. It probably took you a year or two.
Yeah.
Unless you went out and bought a car. I was teaching a financial course one time, and this husband and wife were bickering with each other. They were both taking the course, and they decided that he needed a new truck for work. Now, he didn't really need a new truck. He just needed another transportation. They went out and leased a brand new truck.
Yeah.
Now, the lease means they didn't own it. It meant somebody else owned it. So that was $350 a month. And 2 weeks later, she was jealous about his new truck, and she went down independently and she leased another truck.
Oh.
When they came into the course, because they were bickering with each other and they were almost jealousy, their indebtedness was over $750 a month in 2 lease payments.
Yeah.
My background, I was understanding stewardship to mean just money. Years ago, the 10%, I was raised in a church and you had to give 10%. I didn't realize that scripture is packed full of the whole concepts of stewardship. And I was assigned to figure out what stewardship was for a very major international nonprofit organization. And in doing so, I came up with the principles of what I call lifestyle stewardship. Helping a person live a life that's dependent on managing God's stuff. And so I wrote a book called Intentional Living and Giving. And this just came out about a year ago. It's available any place that people buy books. So however a person, wherever they're at in the world, if they buy through Amazon or through what their book distributor is, they could find Intentional Living and Giving. If you want to, you could go to LarryOnan.com and also find the book there. But it would probably be easier to get it. Although if you go to my website and you are into a Kindle or a digital book, you can actually click on a book and get a free copy of it for the digital library, and you can read it right now.
Yeah.
And that's free to anybody who wants to do that.
So what's
the book is going to go to my website of LarryOnan.com, LarryOnan.com.
Yeah.
And you will find it right on the front page of the bookstore. You can find a digital copy available that you can just ask to download it, and you can download it to your favorite Kindle or book reader, whatever it is.
What is the name of the book?
But if you get the book is called Intentional Living and Giving.
Yeah, I got it.
Intentional Living and Giving.
Yes.
And what that book is going to do is going to do 2 things. It's going to first introduce you to the core principles that will keep you out of debt forever. Because when you start to live this way, you're now living on behalf of the owner. You think differently. When we came up with those concepts, it radically changed everything we did. The latter half of the book, first 9 chapters are the principles. The latter 9 chapters of the book are how you apply that in everyday life. How you apply it in the money, how you apply it with how you say no to people, how you know when you're being deceived. In many churches today worldwide, people are being deceived. They're being ripped off by pastoral leadership to get the money with false teaching on stewardship. And I'll teach you how to identify false teachers and deception, because the steward's got to be really smart. And so the steward's got to be saying, that is not biblical, and I'm not going to do it that way, even though you told me that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. There's manipulators out there doing it. But intentional living and giving, well, that is kind of the primer course before you even get into Crown or Compass or Peace University. Yeah. Because then you're going to be looking at the principles in light of who you are in God's eyes. Yeah. And then you're learning how to do the good job of managing his stuff most wisely. So I'm all for the techniques. I'm all for the courses. I just want a person to know what they're doing so that they will be the thrivers for the rest of their life.
Yeah, because one thing about giving in churches, right, you know that without money, the gospel will not like publicize. It will not be known all over the world. So definitely, people giving intentionally, it's very encouraging, but not
there is
be
a place
adult
for
or
it.
to be compelled to doing it with false teaching. So I think that is really
Well,
important. Yeah,
well,
and
maybe in Deuteronomy, God tells the children of Israel, "I don't
yeah,
need your money, but I
mm,
need you to give, so you learn to keep me first in all things."
yeah,
Yes, we need to be giving our money. We need to be giving our time. I need to be
yeah,
listening. I need to be giving my life to people. But I
yeah.
need to be doing it so I keep him first in all things, not so I
Mm.
can manipulate him to do something for me. You can't
Yeah,
manipulate God.
that's
You
it.
can't manipulate God.
That's it. I don't think that as in you give, when you give in church, even when you even attending church or whatever you do for God, shouldn't be something like, oh, I'm doing it because I want this, but I want to be in the presence of God. I want to fellowship. I want to give just because I know it's going to help with the gospel. That is it. So I
That
don't
is,
think
yes,
I
you
don't
got the
think
spirit of
it's
generosity.
something
Yes, ma'am.
something that one should be compelled to do, because it's actually, as long as you love, it's just like, for example, you love your kids, or you love your wife, you love your husband, you're giving them gifts, right? So that's just
Because
the
you
same
want
way
to, not because you're, yes. Yeah, that's
yeah,
the spirit is I'm doing this, I'm being generous because I want to as a thank you for how much you're
yeah,
blessing me. That's a
yeah,
different spirit than if you give to me today, then God's going to bless you.
yeah,
There's no conditions on how God blesses us.
yeah.
And
But
but
then
there's some people that preach, and if you want to be blessed, you need to give me money. No,
uh,
that's biblically not accurate. No, if you want to
yeah,
be blessed, just be obedient to God in the first place.
yeah,
And God's going to take care of the blessing on you. But I just want people to know when they look at how they live the life of a steward
yeah,
is different than understanding the principles behind it. And I
mm,
want to help people get into it. And I encourage people to find, if they're in debt, find a course that helps you move through the debt.
mm-hmm,
But if you think that technique is going to be solve your problems without you giving your life to God, to Jesus Christ, without you giving your understanding, I'm giving my life back to you. Everything I've got is yours. Okay, I'm admitting that.
yeah,
And when I start to admit that, now God help me figure out how to live this life.
yeah,
And that's what intentional living and giving is all about, BB. And
yeah,
I encourage people to get it. Go to my website. You can get it there, but you can also go to your favorite book supplier and find it there. But anybody
awesome.
that's reading on a Kindle or any kind of a book reader, you go online and you can
That's it.
download it to
Oh, awesome.
that's a free gift for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So so I'd like to ask, like, do you think that, I think you've already mentioned something like that. Yes, I'll just ask you anyway. I'll just make it a bit so. Do you think there are any stress associated with death, right? And why do you think this is the case?
Excuse me again. I didn't quite get the question
Do you
was.
think there's like any stress associated with death, like and why do you think this is the case?
Okay, it's stress.
Yeah,
There
emotional
is you're
stress, as
talking.
in,
Yeah. Well, what happens is when you're living outside of your means,
yeah,
you live in agony.
yeah,
It's defeat. It's misery. It's obligation that you
yeah,
can't cover. And
mm,
that is not the way God wanted you to live. God wanted you to thrive and live an abundant life. That
true,
doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
uh-huh,
We're going to still get sick. We're going to still have issues. In
yeah,
fact, BB, the time you most grow spiritually is when you're in a little bit of pain.
mm,
You know, I probably grew more 10 years in a 2-year period of my life 10 years ago. I
mm.
grew a bunch. You know why? My wife got a glioblastoma brain
Ooh,
tumor and
ooh,
eventually died from it in about a 2-year period.
ooh,
Now, I didn't want anybody to go through glioblastoma. It's a
mm,
terrible disease. It's one of those, when you read about it and understand it, it says this terminal disease is treated in
mm,
this way.
mm.
it's not a good thing to go through. But
Mm.
through going through that with her,
Mm.
we both grew spiritually through the pain and the suffering that was going on because of a brain tumor.
Mm.
It may be that sometimes your darkest moments are the place where God's going to teach you the most.
Mm.
Now, God may be saying, okay, you got yourself in a little bit of problems financially. It's going to be painful getting out, and you're going to learn to trust Him as you learn to get out of debt.
Mm.
So stress and pain come with the action, but it's the results. It's the results of action. It's the consequences of behavior that often cause the stress and the pain.
Yeah.
So when you feel like yourself under stress and you're being miserable and you're feeling defeated, you're probably living with the consequences of some bad decisions that you made before. In the law of the harvest, you plant and then you reap what you sow. Okay, if you're sowing discontent and debt and everything else, you're going to reap the benefits of everything you sowed. Now, it's got a positive twist to it because it works on the positive side. That's how you get great harvests. But what you sow is the results of what you're going to reap. So now if your person is saying, well, I didn't realize that when I got married to this guy and he was a real jerk, blah, 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 blah. Well, there was probably some signals back there that said that was probably not the right thing to do. But the consequences of behavior is now you're living through figuring out how to sort through that. Now, God loves you and He's going to help you get through that. But He's going to also want you to grow through it. He's not going to be the magic wand and take away your problem just because you got yourself in a problem. So you could say, I wake up every morning and I think, okay, God, what do you want me to do today to glorify you? That's my first prayer when I sit up in bed. And I'm thinking, today is a new day. How do I glorify God? And then I can think, okay, God, what is you're going to teach me today that you want me to learn to help somebody else? There is a beginning of the day that starts a journey. And I am victorious because I choose to be so. The book is called Intentional Living and Giving. The word intentional is very important. And intentionality means that I am choosing to do things and choosing not to do other things. So I want to help you become successful and thrive, but it's going to take some intentionality on your listeners' parts to decide they're going to do that. I can listen to good podcasts all day long about great things I should do, and then I hang up and I go to another podcast and I go to another podcast. The action needs to be taken for us to make it work. But I would love to help anybody, and that's why I wrote the book, was to help people, especially young adults, young people that are just starting in life. I've been teaching this for about 50 years, and some of the older folks have got it down. But the new generation, between probably 20 and 45, this is brand new thinking to them, and they're in trouble, and they don't even know how they got there. So I'm all for helping people if I can, BB.
I can imagine. When it comes to death, right? I feel like definitely some people are really super early, they're irresponsible and all that. But I still feel like people, maybe it's just because of circumstances that they are into debt. Because for example, job losses, or maybe somebody has come to steal something from you or something like that. I'm just saying, because I know most of the time it's because of people are just great spenders rather than being great savers, right? So I just want to see, right, in terms of people that are trying to get their debt back in order, right? Get your credit score back in order, and they need extra side hustles. Do you have an idea of any side hustles you would like to share with the viewers?
The insight to get started on it is start to just reduce you've got to say, I'm going to reduce my cost. And that's a choice right up front. I'm going to find a way to reduce my costs. Now that may mean I also got to find a way to bring in a little bit more money. A job, if you get fired from a job or the company closes, There's surprises on people all the time. Now,
Uh-huh.
first of all, God, what are you? And the first prayer I got is, okay, this has happened to me. What do you want to teach me through this journey I'm on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so we start off by recognizing that God is the one that's going to get me through this. We sometimes, when we start to go through pain and suffering and discomfort, we think God went on vacation and left us all by himself, left us by ourselves. No, God's right there with you. But he says, you're a steward of mine, and I need to have you learn some things. And we're going to learn this together. I'm going to help you get through this.
Yeah.
But I choose to get it. I don't blame God for it. But I've got to also, the attitude of gratitude is very important. And an attitude of saying, how can I manage what I've got more judiciously, more effectively? And so, yes, it's stepping in, and sometimes you need to go to other people that are independent of you and get their help in wisdom. Many people can't see how they can cut expenses, but you sit down with a good counselor and they'll say, well, we can get rid of this, this, and this, and this is how you do this, and we'll schedule this process. There are a few companies, particularly in the United States, that help people with debt management. And you hire them to consolidate all of your debts together. The technique is good, but if you're not ready for the spiritual implications, you'll probably be in debt the same way about a year or two later. They can help you get going in the right direction, but they are using technique. They are not using biblical foundational principles. They may be Christian company, I'm saying that, but they're helping you get rid of it. And sometimes a person's got to go to a debt management firm and say, how do I consolidate this? And they're going to ask you to be disciplined in doing what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's also admitting you're in trouble.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I think you didn't get my question. My question was about like examples of side hustles that, somebody that is intentional and wants to try to do extra jobs aside from their normal job. So I'm just saying, do you have an idea of any side hustle that anyone could do? When I say side hustle, like any extra job, like easy jobs that one could do to raise money to be able to pay for their
Okay, I think what a person's got to do is say, what is my skill package? For instance, you may have a full-time job, but you could end up, I'm good at cleaning. Okay, I could go to work any place and work in a cleaning environment. Do I like that kind of job? No, it's not my favorite job, but it might bring in enough money to cover my groceries. Do I have a vehicle, even a bicycle? Maybe you're in a culture where you're biking all over. Can you deliver things and you charge people for delivery? You've got to get creative in how you bring in additional income. And in some cultures, it's not the employer, it's the creativity of the person making the choices. So when I think right now of, when I think of my friend that's going through this debt retirement on school, he is working diligently to try to do that by cutting costs, by doing creative things. I hire him to come over and help me with my computer at times. He's a young guy. He knows what to do. And when he comes over, I can say, put this $20 in your gas tank. Or in other words, I can help him do a little bit more. But you've got to take the initiative to go find those options. But you need to use the skills that you've got to do that. Some people would be lousy at taking on cleaning because they're not good cleaners.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe they could get into sales, maybe they can get into other things. I think we got to be looking all the time, but how can I effectively fulfill what God's called me to do? Yeah. And I think the cultures are very different. So if you've got people in all, might be listening to your podcast that are from different cultures and completely in different countries, you got to look at the circumstances of where God's placed you. You're not there by mistake.
Yeah.
So God's got a plan for you right where you're at, and now it's up to you to start to figure that plan out.
Yeah.
and realize that he is a steward. He's put you as a steward in your place and your time for a purpose.
Yeah.
Now let's figure that purpose out together.
Sure. Sure. Because I could say like I've, okay, personally, I think when it comes to side hustle, because I know I've tried so many so many side hustles. I've tried what is it called? I've tried survey. You know, you need to look for a good survey website, because there are some websites that they just kind of give you small pennies, while there are some they give you a lot more, £100, £50, £20, like that. If you're able to go on such website, then it's quite, as in it's different, then you're able to get it, the money faster. But if you're going for surveys whereby it's kind of 20 pence, £1, 50 pence, then it's going to take get harder, right? But the ones that, one thing is that I think maybe and that's stuff I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of list the website. So there are some whereby you have to apply for you to be able to qualify, or for you to be accepted to get this survey done. And there are some I've done so many. I've done so many things. I've done mystery shopping. I've done so many. I'm just saying that there are some other ways that one could raise money to be able to clear the debt. No, it's not easy. It's not so easy. Anyway, so
Well, what you're telling me,
sorry.
what you're telling me, BB, is you're showing it right now. You're being creative in the ways you go about doing it,
Yeah.
and that's taking
But I
initiative
still
on
need
your
more
part,
creativity though.
and that's being intentional.
Yeah.
I've got one friend that's talked to me for 6 months about moving to a different state in the United States,
Yeah.
and he's always going to move where his relatives are at.
Yeah.
Now he's over 6 weeks late in leaving, and he's still talking about moving. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's still here a year from now,
Yeah.
because his intentionality is not putting the wheels in the car and starting to move, because
Yeah.
other things are in his way. So we've got to be intentional in what's doing it, and you're being very creative in doing it. So
Yeah.
I think that's where people say, okay, God, how are you going to help? How are you going to come and show me your presence by what I'm doing today? And I've got to step out and start moving. God works much easier in a moving person than he does a static person.
Yeah.
You've got to be on the move, and then God can start to work. And if you're not moving, I like in the Old Testament, when the children of Israel were at the Red Sea, and Moses was there, and they were staring at the Red Sea, and the army of Egypt was behind them.
Yeah.
And God said to Moses, tell the people to stop praying and
Yeah.
get moving.
Yeah.
They had to start moving into the water, and sometimes we've got to stop. I don't mean we're being lighthearted about prayer, but we can sometimes say, I prayed about this, now I got to start acting.
Mm.
And that's what God was telling to Moses, stop the people from praying, because they were all saying, oh God, what are we going to do? This is dangerous. Stop the people from praying and get moving.
Yeah, because
And I think we got to get moving.
You have to do your own part, and God has to do his own part, because God blesses your effort, right? So if you are not taking action, then you're not, right? Because it's not like when it was the Israelite days whereby the manna was just falling from heaven, right? Even though the manna can fall, you still has to be like,
he sent the manna, but you had to go pick it up.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, God comes through all the time. He's a miracle God. But he is expecting, he did not say, I'm going to put it into your jars and you just enjoy eating it. He said, you got to go out every morning and pick up the manna.
Yeah.
So I'm going to provide for you. And then they were complaining about not having meat, so he sent quail.
Yeah.
And then he said, but I want you to trust me every day. So I'm not going to let you store it up. So you got to come out every day and get it. There was action on our parts while God was also providing on his part. And I think that's the healthy balance of a steward doing, your partnership in a sense with God. Now he's the Almighty God and he's far greater than our partnership. But I'm choosing to be in sync with him because that's what he wants me to do. I provide for you as you step out and act. So if a person is really in trouble, get out and act. Go door to door. Get out and start looking for options. There's a time when you may want to go to a prayer closet and have a little prayer.
Yeah.
But if you spend too much time in there, I would say get off your knees and get out the door.
True. I really agree, because even the parcel delivery that you mentioned is still something that one can do, because I've tried it as well, right? As in, there are so many things, even the taking pictures, right? Selling your pictures, even paid for working, right? That's paid for you doing exercises. So many things. But one thing is that it has to be fit for purpose. Because if it doesn't fit for purpose, then it's kind of be like a waste of time and a waste of money as well. Because even car deliveries, you're delivering cars, as in so many things, assessing cars, auditing, as in there's so many jobs so many out there. However, one just needs to be able to make sure it's fit for purpose. It needs to pay as in, you can't just do the side also and it's not paying what, as in, it doesn't pay for what you want it to pay for. Otherwise it's going to be a waste of time, right? So
yes, you're gonna lose it. You can lose money on a deal.
Yeah, and that's
what you're doing. I have a grandson, and he's got a company that keeps on wanting to hire him. It's a very, very high-end restaurant, and they want him to manage a restaurant. Yeah. And he's had to say to them, I would love to manage your restaurant, but you're not even offering me enough that I can afford to live where the restaurant's at.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you can move in with some roommates, and you can do this, and you can do that. Yeah. He said, no, I'm a young adult. I'm not a teenager. I need to have a place of my own, and I've got to be able to pay my bills. And until we get to the right place in the discussion where I can survive and manage for you, I am not the one, because I can't do it at your price.
Yeah, true.
And so he has said no to him 3 times.
Yeah, and your age, your level, and that also determines the kind of things you can do. Really, so as in, if one, as in, anyway, it's just good to be intentional and be creative in what you can do, because you can just even sit down, just do get the, what is it called, the business, customer advisors. And you can just be making calls or just chatting with customers. So I think it's about having the right information, the right source, and also the right pay, and using the right time to be able to pay for what you're meant to pay for. Otherwise, it's just going to be a waste of time and energy. Anyway.
Well, and I think another thing, BB, I think, and people go out and they need to talk about what it would cost to do it.
Yeah.
So when they say, I'll be glad to deliver for you, and it'll cost so much money for me to do that. I'm glad to deliver it, but I have to charge my time. Yeah. And right up front, you're not doing it as a friendship. This is a business negotiation.
You just wasted your energy, to be honest. Yeah. So it has to. For example, if you're doing a side also that you need to pay for example, you need to pay for the expenses first beforehand before you now get paid afterwards. So you need to find the funds for the expenses you're paying for. And one thing is that sometimes if you're not careful, even the expenses you paid for, they will not even be able to pay it back in full to you. Then it's kind of a waste. So it has to fit for purpose, to be honest.
Well, I think one of the saddest things I see in our cultures today, the man and the woman in a home have to work both full time.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that in order for the woman to work, she has to put her kids in childcare.
True. Yeah.
Now, by the time the day's over, she's made no money, and she's been gone from her kids.
Yeah.
and she's paid the babysitter or childcare.
Yeah.
And I'm saying something's wrong here. If you're just barely making it, you
Yeah.
should be able to have a margin of profit. This is
True.
wisdom that comes into play. You know,
True.
many people have a lot of knowledge. The
True.
young adults that I know they got gobs of knowledge, but they have very little wisdom.
Hmm.
Knowledge you get out of the book and by studying and learning techniques. Wisdom
Yeah.
comes by living life. And
Yeah.
a lot of them need to learn. And if they don't know what to charge, then talk to a more mature person that says, okay, I have this delivery business. I'll deliver to these businesses.
Yeah.
And I need to make what would be a fair price that makes me competitive, but also
Yeah.
makes me a profit.
Yeah.
Because you can undercut the market and make no money.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if part of your goal is being a good steward, then you got to be making money so that you can pay off that indebtedness.
True.
So it's having a lot of prudent wisdom that comes along and get people to help you think through that. I think
True.
there's a lot of people, an older generation of people would give you a lot of wisdom on what they should do. And
Yeah.
sometimes the younger crowd is afraid to ask for it. So,
Uh-huh.
Again, this is back to the principle. I'm a steward managing God's money and managing his resources, and I need to do everything decently and in order. I got to be everything intentional. I've got to do things within his principles. I've got
Yeah.
to be restrictive in what I do. I can't just spend money like water. I've got to be smart in doing it. And a person, the byline of my book is learning how to thrive in life. And I think we need to learn how to thrive in even our worst circumstances.
True. I agree.
And that is what we're working toward, And, yes, I tell you this, when my wife went through that brain tumor, I learned how to thrive in life. And it was not an easy trip to learn.
Yeah.
And I was not, I wasn't learning things for the first time, but I look back at those times and I thought I probably grew more in an 18 to 20 month period of her illness than I would if I'd not had that to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to be disciplined and understand that. And it takes sometimes it took me a while before I could figure that all out afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think but a person needs to be moving. It needs to be activity.
Yeah.
There needs to be understanding biblically of who you are. And that's what we were talking about in this other aspect. And then it's recognizing that I'm going to live a different life. I'm not going to get caught up in the debt. The goal of the system is to get you in debt and keep you there forever. That is
No.
That is the system.
No to that, to be honest. Otherwise, we just like so fun.
Well, yesterday I got in the mail a credit card offer, that was, free interest for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then the interest rate was 21%. I don't need another credit card. They were trying to hook me into carrying one more thing so I could go in debt another way. That's the business system, is to make money off of you.
Yeah.
My job is to keep you from making money off of me. I'm a good steward. I'm not going to be obligated to a bank or to a system.
Yeah.
I want to live obligated to God and God only.
Yeah. I think the structure is there to help. Fine. Right? The credit facility is there to help. However, it doesn't mean that one should be indebted to it forever. So it's kind of like you're being, you are being persecuted for your sin for the rest of your life.
No, it's not persecution. Now, I think sometimes people call the consequences persecution.
Yeah.
If I get myself in debt and I'm $50,000 in US dollars in debt, the consequences is I've got to pay it off.
Yeah, that's it.
You're saying, but God's not blessing me. No, God's blessing me. He's teaching me some lessons. God wants me to be a better steward, not a worse steward.
Yeah.
So I think the whole principle behind this discussion is to become what God designed you to be.
Yeah.
And to be a thriver, not a defeated person.
Yeah.
And defeat comes when you got yourself in trouble. God doesn't want you to live in trouble. He may use that to help you get into a thriving lifestyle. So let him use it. Let him teach you a lesson. It's okay. And I hope you learned the lesson in the process of getting your debt cleared up. And you won't go into debt again. Otherwise, you're just going to suck right back into it. You're going to be like the alcoholic. I've got to get another drink. I got to go shopping.
Yeah, one needs to be disciplined.
I'm just desperate for a new purse, or I'm just desperate for a new shirt. No, you're not desperate.
You've got a good credit score. Yes, be disciplined about it.
Well, Paul wrote, I've learned to be content in all things.
Yeah.
And when Paul was writing that, he was in prison, locked with two Roman guards, and he was writing that statement, I've learned to be content in all things. He was content when he was in prison, locked away. In the midst of adversity, he could be content.
Yeah.
That didn't mean he liked his circumstances. But can you learn to be content in all things? That's what God wants you to learn to be.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's fun. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, say what you're saying. I just wanted to ask him the question, but you can go ahead.
Go ahead, fire away.
Okay. So I was just so the next question, right? So your journey into stewardship began almost by accident. Can you walk us through how that unexpected assignment transformed your understanding of money, purpose, and generosity?
Well, I was a missionary in late 60s. I spent over 20 years with an international mission organization. And I thought I was doing the direct ministry. I loved what they were doing, and I was really committed to it. Then I realized that they were wanting me to use my skills. I'm a good manager. I'm a good maximizer. I relate well with the people. I have high responsibility. And I gravitated toward leadership, and I got into fundraising by accident. I did not walk in looking for a job. In fact, I walked into an office because I heard the vice president of the organization had a problem, and he was wanting to see me if maybe I could help him fix the problem.
Yeah.
And what happened to me on that day, I went into this office and he said, Larry, he told me about a situation 3 months earlier that happened in another city. And there was an enormous pledge made, $2 million by 80,000 teenagers. And he said, Larry, I've got a problem here. And he said, come with me, I'll show you something. His office was in a hotel room with a bathroom. So we went into his bathroom, and he pulled back the shower curtain over the tub, and there were 29 boxes of pledge cards in boxes that had not been opened in 90 days.
Wow.
And he said, this is supposed to be worth about $2 million, but we've done nothing to it in 90 days. Wow. Could you take these boxes and advise me and help me figure out a way if we could even follow up the pledge? And I had one other guy with me that was brand new to the ministry, and he and I carried those boxes out of the bathtub into a room, set up card tables, and started opening boxes, thinking, what in the world did we get ourselves into? That was my introduction into what became my vocation for life, is helping people raise resources. Now, I was pretty successful in doing that for a long period of time. I was pretty successful in doing what I call fundraising. Fundraising, though, if you hear it in the UK or any place in the world, there's always an exchange. You do this for me, I'm going to do this for you. So in the United States, if a hospital needs to raise money for children, if I send them money, they'll send me a blanket. Or if I go run on a race and I'm doing a 5K run, I'm going to get a t-shirt, and I may get an award if I'm the best one. There's always an exchange in fundraising. Every fundraising opportunity is, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And they actually sell the benefits of what they're going to give you. I was using classical fundraising, and I was being quite successful at it. There's nothing sinful about it. There's nothing wrong with fundraising. but it's an awful lot of work to do classical fun, where you're always trying to figure out the next gift to give to somebody and trying to keep that up there. I was asked a few years into my process to figure out what biblical stewardship was for a very major initiative that organization was going to have. They did not know what they were asking me to do. I was actually given the assignment so they could move on with other conversations. But I wrote down on a pad of paper, figure out what lifestyle stewardship is. And then I wrote at the bottom of the page, Larry, you've got the freedom to fail. Because one of my mentors had told me years and years, if you have the freedom to fail, you will go try things. If you don't have the freedom to fail, you'll probably do nothing. So I wrote down, I had the freedom to fail. And it was probably 6 or 8 weeks later, nobody called me and asked me how I was coming on the research. And I pulled together some of the guys that was working for me. And I said, let's figure this out because this could be a life changer for us. And we figured out the core principles that you're going to find in Intentional Living and Giving. The book's core principles came off of this experience. It radically changed how we did fundraising. We started doing fund development. We no longer had donors. We had financial partners. A financial partner does this: join hands. A donor gets stuck in the arm with a needle and feels the pain of getting blood. And there's a downside to the donor. He feels manipulated. We changed our whole mindset about how we saw people that had resources to give, and it radically changed how much money we raised. And even worldwide today, some of those core principles are being taught, and it transforms things. The book, when I wrote it, Intentional Living and Giving, was just to help more people understand the core principles. But the surprise was I never walked into my life thinking I was going to become a fundraiser or a fund developer. That was a circumstance that God gave me, and He used my skill package to figure out how to do some things right that resulted in outcomes that were good. But when we figured out lifestyle stewardship from a biblical perspective, that God is the owner and we're stewards, it changed everything we did. So when the people get a hold of Intentional Living and Giving, they're going to be reading about the very core principles that are life transformational in nature. And when they get those principles down, they will start living a life that God really wants every one of us to live. So it's not just a book; it is a handbook of learning how to thrive.
Awesome.
So that's what but that was the surprise. I never planned on doing that as a vocation, and I spent 50 years of my life both doing it for that organization, and then I spent 30 years of my life, I helped many Christian nonprofit organizations work on generating the funds for their ministry, and always trying to help them see the level of stewardship that needed to go into it. So it was a journey. It was a journey, BB. It was fun. I've enjoyed it, and I still do the same thing. I've got an Ivy League college that I'm working with right now that we're working on. I've got another organization that I'll start working with in August, and I should be retired completely, but people twist my arm and ask me to help them once in a while.
You're just so good.
I'm still doing it. I'm not over it. I may be old, but I'm not. I'm just retreaded, I guess. I'm keeping going.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
it's been fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think you've actually answered this question, but I'm just going to ask you again. So from your experience, right, how should Christians view debt, right? And is debt always a sign of poor stewardship, or are there reasons to consider?
No, debt is, if debt is controlling you, it's bad.
Yeah.
If debt is managed, that's what a steward does, is manage. So if you have, say, a house payment, let's just use say you buy a car or you buy a house. Now, ideally, if you bought a car and you could pay cash for it, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. Buying a house, you may want to put it into a process of debt. It's debt equity, but you're now managing it.
Yeah.
You see, when I have those, I talked about those 5 credit cards I've got.
Mm,
I use 5 credit cards for my life.
mm,
Nobody ever makes money on me because I pay them off every single month.
mm.
I'm using the debt process, but I'm using it where I'm managing it, not the bank.
Yeah.
The banks don't like me because I don't have debt tied up
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
That's the wrong side, is when you become obligated. I was talking to a young couple the other day, and they said, well, our credit score is pretty bad, and we own $6,000 in debt. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you never talked to me about that. You never told me that. They're trying to get themselves out of trouble because they got themselves in trouble. That's bad debt.
Mm.
And that is what keeps people from doing important, fun things.
But true. Yeah. I can tell you that. It's really,
yes.
really bad.
Debt in itself is not good or bad. It's not sinful or unsinful. It's what it does for you and how you get sucked into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, debt in and of itself, no, there's not a problem in the principle behind it. But the scripture says, be a debtor to no man.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's what the God says to be a debtor, then we should be trying to plan our life to where we're not indebted to other people. If you're indebted to somebody else, you end up being a servant, a slave to them.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a slave to your bank or to your financial institution.
True.
You need to be the one that's managing things on behalf of the Father in heaven.
Yeah.
So debt in and of itself is not bad. It's who's controlling the debt.
Yeah.
Who's managing it.
True.
So,
Because it can actually. Sorry.
No, so go for it.
Yeah, it can actually prevent you from doing things that you're meant to do, simple things. Because you're owing somebody, or because you're owing the bank money, you're not able to do things. That's right. It's important to kind of get the bad, like they say, there are good debt and there are bad debt. So it's better to get rid of the bad debt, to be honest.
Yeah, and the question becomes, the question is debt good or bad? And I'd say it depends who's managing the debt.
Yeah,
if you're managing it, you're okay.
Yeah,
if the bank is managing it and telling you what to do, you're starting to get in trouble.
True.
And there's times when people need to plan on a debt strategy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being. I don't want to say we go in debt just so we can go in debt. But if we're going to buy a house and we do it over 30 years, now you're going to spend 3 times more for the house because the debt is going to make money for somebody. And that's okay. If you plan it and you're managing it, you're okay with it. But I don't want people to get caught in debt and then just feel like that's their whole lives are miserable as a result of that.
True. Anyhow, it is important to be able to get out of it as quickly as possible so you can get your life back. But I know there are so many methods there whereby some of them they can say, pay a little bit. You understand? Maybe pay gradually, or some of them might actually say they're going to take half of it off if you can pay everything immediately. So there are different ways that one can actually sort this out, as long as you have the funds to pay for the debt. So it's important to be able to have that power as well, because if that power is not there.
And BB, if you're looking for debt management, this is where you got to be pretty smart. They're out to make money too.
Yeah.
So they may be proposing a way to help you, but the person that's talking to you is going to make money off of you. So you got to be pretty smart in doing that. Now, I believe that there's places where that can help you. I mean, I'm not adverse to it, but don't think everybody that says I can help you do X is really out to help you do X. They're out to make money off of you.
Yeah.
They're going to make money in the process. Now, we want them to be profitable and help me. I pay a financial manager to manage my state portfolio.
Yeah.
I know he's making money on me, but that's his business. He's a fiduciary. He's helping me do something that I want him to do. And so I'm paying him because he's got more knowledge and smarts in an area than I have.
Yeah.
I'm not good at 401ks and all of the ways to do things, but with the right kind of help, I can be quite successful. So remember, the steward is managing the process. So if you're going to go look for debt management, you got to be saying, what is the deal for him? How much is this costing me? That will come in the second half of the book, because that's the way you start to be a good steward. So you'll get there.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned encountering early teaching of prosperity theology during your research. What danger do you see in that doctrine when it comes to debt and generosity?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
You mentioned encountering early teaching of prosperity theology during your research. What dangers do you see in that doctrine when it comes to debt and generosity?
Okay, I think I got the question there. I think that anything pushed to the extreme, if you're hearing, Scripture is very clear. Preachers and theology warps Scripture. In our culture, and I'm thinking it's rampant in the United States and Africa and Latin America, and it is the theology that God owes you something, and that it's the spirit of, if I do this, God's going to do this for me.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Yeah,
that's very dangerous.
Yeah,
When you get into the wrong theology, which ends up making money for somebody else, then I think we got to be very careful there. The theology is very clear in Scripture, and that's why I put it together in the book, frankly, is I wanted people to understand the core biblical truth and then be able to get away from deception that it's off the charts. And in our cultures today, worldwide, deception of truth is really rampant in churches and all over the place. We got to be very careful. And I want people to be smart enough. At one time, I was going to write the book and I was going to list out all the bad people out there and what they were teaching. And I thought, no, I'm going to approach it by the principles that help you define deception. So when you get to the chapter in my book on deception, it's helping you as a steward identify deception yourself, not somebody just saying, well, he's really a bad guy or this is a bad organization. I want you to be able to look at Scripture and say, that is not right. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So the right theology is maybe a very, very important part of this whole thing. And that's what we're trying to do, is help you become a wise steward that thrives, not one that's being taken by even religious people.
Yeah, true.
It's called in some cultures prosperity theology.
Yeah.
If I can get rich on God's behalf and He owes it to me, then I can, I just got plenty of money. No, that is deceptive theology. There was, the God blessed the widow that came in and gave her all at the temple. She was the widow's mite. They call it about the widow's mite story. She gave everything. She wasn't wealthy, but she wanted to generously give. And Jesus commented on her that she gave more than all the wealthy people in the world when she only gave a small mite, a couple of shekels. Okay, that was her heart experience, was she wanted to give that.
Yeah.
The deception of prosperity theology is that God owes me and everything is to live for now, and I want wealth right now, and I want to live comfortably right now. And God may say to you, like He said to Job, you're going to go through some suffering right now. You're not going to be going through good times right now. So I think that you got to be very careful of listening to the wrong theology, because many times those wrong theologies are making somebody else very wealthy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're going to get wealthy along with them. It means you've been sold a bill of goods.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to be.
but at the same time, people, when it comes to giving, I know there are deceptions out there, but when it comes to giving, there are different kind of level of faith, right? That is attached to it. If you don't have that level of faith, then you'll not be able to give in that respect, right? You won't be able to make such decisions. At the same time, right? It's about it I know when it comes to, I think it's when it comes to seed offering, that is the one whereby you're giving for a particular thing, right? That's when you're giving for a particular thing, but there are different kind of giving, right? And I don't think it's also got to do with, oh, when I give this £10, God is going to give me £100, and it's going to be like, that's what you are. That like it's not like trade by barter. It's not.
That's
like
manipulation.
business.
Yeah.
It's not. So
yeah,
it's not like
really...
business. I know at the same time I've heard some people make it seem that way. Yes, I know I've heard some people make it seem that way. They seem like
well, there is a huge
they should view giving.
BB, there's a huge movement of manipulation going on. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, there's a huge movement of manipulation going on by religious people. The seed faith, of course, it takes seed to grow a garden.
Yeah.
But the seed faith, if you've heard those people speak, let me just take that one as an example. The seed faith is not to where you feel God leads you to give it.
Yeah.
It's to them. They want you to give the money to them.
Yeah.
If you invest in this seed and send me the money, this is going to happen to you. That is deceptive. That is not the way. The farmer's got to have seed to sow.
Yeah. But
God may lead you to put it someplace else, not where you're being appealed to put it.
Yeah.
And I think we got to be very careful. Now, I do go through the book, How to Say No When You're a Good Steward. I think there's a lot of times we feel obligated that we heard a good sermon, so we got to put money in. I think in the book, I gave you about a dozen questions to ask in making wise decisions on where to put money. Because I want to be making it, for instance, in the United States, we have a lot of people that are really desperate. They work on the freeways. They're trying to collect money. I never give money to a person that's on a freeway asking for money with a little sign that said, I need help to buy food today. Now, my principle is there's plenty of sources that already exist to give him help. Yeah. There's all kinds of what we call government and church things, other things out there. What he really is wanting is money to go buy liquor or drugs. And I'm not going to participate in that. I will give him a card that tells him who he can call for all the help he needs. They'll get him off of drugs. They will help him financially. They'll do other things, but they're experts in knowing how to vet. Yeah. So I learned a long time ago that my responsibility as a steward to decide where I should be putting the money, not where the preacher or somebody else is telling me I should put their money. Yeah. And so we got to be very careful. Every truth that's deceptive is only about 5 degrees or 6 degrees off of truth. It's very close, and it sounds so good. And then I put the money in, and who got the money? They're living very wealthy on the other side, and I've lost $50 or 50 pounds or whatever it is. Yeah. We need to be really wise as stewards, be as wise as we can be, because God's holding us accountable for what he entrusts us with, and he's going to hold them accountable for theirs as well. So I'm very concerned about people, especially in the African and Latin America context. They are rampant with deceptive theology on giving. Be very careful, because there's somebody making a lot of money and at your expense. And a steward asks the hard questions and says no when he does not feel or she does not feel that's where he should be giving. And you're not being selfish by not wanting to give, because a good steward doesn't give to everything. And so a good steward is managing resources, not getting rid of. Yeah. So, well, BB, this has been a great conversation. I've got to get into something else today. My time is different than your time, but it's been a great conversation.
Thank you. But could you just like okay? Could you just give like a rundown for the viewers? Just anything. Okay, let me just ask you. Let me just make it this way. What should you say to a person listening who feels discouraged and stuck financially? So what would you say to the person? Just to finalize.
A person that's discouraged today?
Yeah.
Number one, there is hope. Okay, number one, there's hope.
Yeah.
Number two, God planned for you to have an abundant life, not a defeated life.
Yeah.
Number three, God owns it all. You don't own anything.
Yeah.
Number four, God wants you to be cheerfully giving and asking and participating in what He's doing.
Yeah.
God wants you to be a thriver, but He's not promised you easy street.
Yeah.
Life can be challenging, but it's in the midst of those challenges that you're going to grow in faith.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things. God loves you. He wants you to thrive, but He wants you to be a good steward on His behalf.
Yeah.
Just trust Him to become that and learn what it means to be the good steward. You are the manager of His affairs.
Yeah.
And you can live a contented life today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm going to send you. Well, I'll send you the link, right, so you can watch it when it's edited. So thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And I pray that for my viewers, you're going to get purchases of your books.
Yeah. Trust me, they go out there. If they go to LarryOnan.com and you'll see stuff I wrote. I got blogs there. I've got other podcasts that I put a lot of stuff there where people can get to know me a little bit more. But one of the things you'll find is they can get a digital copy of the book if they go there.
Yeah, I'm going to have the link at. I'm sorry. Does the book have an audio book?
No, the audio book is not out right now. No, okay. I haven't quite got that far yet. I haven't started recording it yet.
Okay.
Maybe in the next year we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
No worries. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. BB, have a great day.
Thank you.
Be blessed and go thrive.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening, for being part of this, right? And I hope that through this you will have like an inspiration on how to handle your debt, right? And it's ensure that yes, when I said earlier, when you do your side hustles, right, and you have a target in mind, making extra income is different from you having a target of you clearing your debt, right? So what you're doing should really, really be worthwhile if you're trying to clear your debt. But if you're trying to just earn extra funds, please do any side hustle that you like. That's my advice. However, if you're trying to clear your debt, please ensure that it is worthwhile. It is what can actually pay the debt. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of money, a waste of time, and a waste of energy, right? So please like, subscribe, share, right, and comment. God bless you. Bye.